Hi friends, today I have 10 thrift flip projects for you. A few of these items you might remember from previous videos, but they needed an update to be able to put into my new booth. So it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I opened my new booth in the State Street Market. I believe that the space is about a 10 by 10. I usually go each week, maybe sometimes twice a week, and add inventory. As far as what's been selling, I would say that it's an equal amount of vintage and home decor items along with the upcycle items. The clip that you're looking at right now was from my second reset. I did do another reset last Tuesday, but didn't get a chance to film it. And this Tuesday, I'll be adding over 50 items and doing my spring reset. All right, so project number 1, you'll remember from a previous video, it was just a stainless steel tray that we painted with some DIY vintage linen, and it just needed something more. So I added an IOD crockery stamp in the middle because I wanted to mimic the vanity tray that we did a couple weeks ago in a video because that sold right away in my booth. But once I added the copper gilding wax from Dixie Belle around the edges, I just didn't like it. So I was almost like ready to trash it. So I decided to decoupage a napkin that I picked up at the Christmas tree store. I did use just 1 ply of the napkin. I applied the napkin on with Mod Podge there, and I let that dry overnight. What I'm doing here is taking a small paintbrush, dipping it in water, and then going along the edge to tear the napkin off. It was a little tricky because I wanted the gilding wax to be exposed. It did take me quite a while around the handles to get it right because I didn't want it to tear too much. Then after I got all the napkin off and was happy with the way it looked, I did take that paintbrush and apply some Mod Podge and just went over along the edges just to make sure that it was nice and smooth. I then took a bigger brush, applied Mod Podge all over the entire piece. And then after that had a chance to dry, I will also add 1 coat of the Carlon matte spray just for added protection. I was really happy and relieved with the way that it turned out. You guys will have to let me know what you think. So if you were with me around the summertime, you remember my wood projects. I made this little mini pumpkin, actually an attempt to make a little mini cutting board that kind of backfired on me. But I want to be able to put it in my booth for spring. So I ripped off the eucalyptus. Here I'm adding some copper gilding wax and the sweet little bird from the IOD stamp. I may add a little spring tag up there by the vintage lace. Project number 3 is this little mini wood shelf. The color right there in the video looks really nice, but it was a lot darker. I did apply 2 coats of the cotton paint by Dixie Belle, and then I'm using the typesetting stamps from IOD. Just going to stamp out the word vintage on the back. I was going to add a rub-on transfer on the back, but I decided to leave it plain, and that way somebody can decorate it the way they want to. And I did do a rough sanding on it just to give it an aged look. Project number 4 are these sweet little ceramic bunnies that I think I've had sitting on my shelf for at least 11 years. They are painted with a texture that's kind of made to look like rust. I wanted to give them a little refresh without painting them just before I go to put them in my booth to sell them. So here I am applying a really thick coat of the DIY white wax, trying not to get it all over me, which kind of backfired. After I applied the wax all over the bunny, I took an old t-shirt and wiped it back. I did pay special attention to those areas that look like rust and really tried to wipe the wax off to bring those out. And then there's a side-by-side comparison. And then I'm going to repeat the same process for the second bunny, and then they're going to be all ready to put in my booth. And if you'd like to purchase any of the Dixie Belle products, you can contact Gail over at the Hive. I'm putting her link below, and she will ship the items to you. Project number 5, I really like this basket, but the wood base on it was really orange. I did apply 2 coats of the slick stick. After that dried overnight, I did apply 2 coats of the Dixie Belle paint in the color Cotton. And then this pretty transfer out of the Whispering Willows transfer set, and applied 2 coats of the matte finish Krylon spray. The basket may be a little too orange. I'll put it in the booth, see if it sells. If not, I'll bring it home and apply some white wax. On to project number 6. This was a little shiny black ceramic bird that I picked up from a thrift store. Did apply 2 coats of the Slick Stick from Dixie Belle, and this is just a paint mixture that I made myself. It's almost like a light lavender. I applied that, some clear wax from DIY, and then some watered down antique wax. I've already sold a few birds that I did in this technique, so I'm making him like this because I'm hoping that he will sell as well. Project number 8, we're going to revisit this little birdhouse that I made up on the left-hand side. We're going to give him a proper stand. I purchased this wood round from Walmart, added some antiquing wax, and glued it on using some Gorilla Wood glue because it already matched the little tiny base that I had on there. And then I added a little bird stamp from IOD. And now it's nice and sturdy and can stand on its own. All right, so we're also going to revisit another previous project, project number 9. This was one of the first videos that I did, and it was when I used the faux concrete where you make it with the baking soda and paint, and it's very, very durable, and it held up very well, but it just needed that spring touch. So there's another napkin from the Dollar Tree. I added an IOD stamp from the Rose 12 set, and then finish with 1 coat of the Krylon matte spray sealer. Sorry for the lack of before pictures here. This was a little gold planter that I purchased from the thrift store. I applied 2 coats of the Dixie Belle paint in French linen and applied 1 coat of the DIY white wax and wiped that back. I really like the way that this came out. And for now, I just stuck another metal planter inside of it with a vintage handkerchief. If you'd like to check out my vintage and upcycle thrifted decor video, you're going to want to click on the one on the left. If you want to check out how I did the picture and other projects, you're going to want to hit the one on the right. Friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Have a super blessed week, and I will see you soon.